Good morning, Woodmont. I hope that your day is off to a great start. This is today's 6 at 6. My dad likes to tell stories, and I have learned that as his oldest child, I've heard a lot of these stories a lot of times. And he likes to tell certain stories at certain places and certain times of year. And one of the stories that he tells the most whenever I've been with him at the beach is a story that I'm about to tell you right now about when I was a toddler. And my dad and I were in the ocean. We were riding the waves. It was just him and me. And he was holding me. And we were riding up and down on the waves. But then suddenly a large and scary wave came along. And my dad, in an effort to protect me, he turned his back to the wave and he put me in front. But the wave was so strong that it pulled me out of his arms. And so my dad has a split moment of his son is in the ocean and he doesn't know where he is. And so in this act of desperation, he just kind of dove forward into the water and just reached out as far as he could and was somehow able to find me in the midst of the wave. And my dad talks a lot about the fact that he didn't know what would have happened to me if he didn't grab onto me at that last second, if he didn't have that split second decision. And so it's always weird for me whenever I go to the ocean to think about the fact that something could have happened to me that day. I think about the fact whenever I see the ocean that it's something that's really peaceful, but it's also something a little bit chaotic and something scary. And I'm always reminded of this story about how my life was kind of saved in that moment. Even though I don't even actually remember it, it's been told so many times that it's just ingrained in my mind. And memory is a funny thing like that, because when you remember something, it like suddenly becomes present to you. Like some memories are so vivid, like memories of people are so vivid that it seems like they're right there by your side. And I've been thinking a lot about water and the ocean and memories this past week, because last weekend we got to see a lot of our sixth graders get baptized. Last Saturday morning we had a service at Sequoia Swim and Tennis Club, which was awesome to actually have a baptism service out there, and students got baptized in the pool. After the indoor worship service last Sunday, several more students got baptized at the church. And I always, when I experience baptism, it's this beautiful symbol of the fact that God saves us, that God cleans us, that God offers us new life when there could have been death. And there's this phrase that is often repeated in the church that we are to remember our baptism. And I thinking back to my baptism, like I can remember being a child, and I can remember the white robe, and I remember that I got baptized at night, and I remember that for some reason I wore socks into the baptismal pool, and it felt really, really weird to wear the socks and them getting wet. I remember my dad baptizing me. I remember looking out, and I remember seeing my mom in the pew, proud of me. And I remember those aspects of my baptism, but it's not just talking about remembering the act of your baptism, but what your baptism represents. It's remembering the fact that God loves you more than you can possibly imagine. And that God, even though we're, flawed people, even though we screw up, even though we mess up, God offers us this opportunity to be forgiven and to have new life and to follow God in all of these ways. And so you are to remember your baptism as much as you possibly can. And I went to a Lutheran church when I was in my early 20s, and they actually had like a little bowl with water, and maybe even a little fountain. And what you were encouraged to do when you came in is to dip your hands into the water and remember your baptism every time that you entered the church for worship. And so I've tried to find ways to continually to remember my baptism, whether it be when I drink a cup of cold water, or whether when I go to the ocean and I think about the story of when I was a kid, but also think about the fact that God has saved me and God has given me new life. Or whenever there is a rainstorm and you walk through it and you are reminded that, I'm reminded that, God loves me, God saves me, God forgives me, God cleans me. I think the idea of remembering baptism is for you to never forget. And the thing about never forgetting is that the past stays with you. And when the past stays with you, you remember that moment. It lives with you. It walks with you. And so with baptism, you're not just remembering about how you were saved, but you're remembering how you are being saved, how God is still with you, how God is still beside you, how God still loves you, how God is still making you new every single day. And it's not just this one-time moment, but it's this ongoing experience that we have with this God of grace and love and peace who is always with us. So my encouragement to you is to find ways to remember your baptism, whether it be a cup of cold water, or whether it be when you get in the shower each day, or whether it be when you see a storm or drive by a lake or whatever. Remember your baptism. Remember that God is with you, and that you are being made new. Have a good day.